Hey everyone, my name is Shifa,
And my name's Ayan.
and welcome to the eighth episode of What Muslims Look Like. This podcast is intended for sharing the depth and breadth of the Muslim community's involvement in society. From media to medicine and everything in between, we hope you'll find that there's more to us than meets the eye.
So today's guest, Ibrahim Ijaz, is the Chief Design Officer of Seek Refuge, the world's first streetwear brand for Muslim women. He's a graduating senior from the University of Michigan, studying public policy and human rights law and international development. He's also the proud brother of the founder of Seek Refuge, Shazia Ijaz, and he's studying to become a diplomat whose hobbies are photography, calligraphy, and graphic design. You're doing a lot of good stuff, man. We appreciate you making time for us today, and we're so happy to have you here.
Thanks, it's awesome to be here.
So let me just kick it off with a kind of, I guess, a pretty generic question, but where did the idea for Seek Refuge come from?
So I think the idea came from a few different places. My sister Shazia is a very business-minded person. She went to business school, and she wanted to make sure that she can create a business that is actually doing social good and is actually helping people. And growing up as a Muslim woman and having the experience of being subjected to all the different stereotypes and all the different marginalizations that Muslim women are, she realized that that's actually like what she should work on, and not just what a lot of these fashion brands are doing, which is, just throwing a hijab onto a model and saying, oh, this is now for Muslim women, but understanding that, like, kind of the depth and breadth of what a Muslim woman is.
Hey, using our slogan in our thing. I like that. I like that.
Exactly. And so from that kind of background, we have mine and Shazi's parents are very humanitarian and kind of citizenship-oriented people. And so growing up, watching them being involved with like an array of different topics. When I was in ninth grade, my parents actually worked on freeing 100 refugees from Thailand.
Wow.
Who were in a Thai immigration prison. And so that was a very instrumental thing to watch when you're growing up, understanding how you can use your privilege in this country to actually impact people abroad. And so I think those different factors came into play. And so Seek Refuge being a brand that is representing Muslims, that is empowering women, and that is aiding refugees, I think kind of encapsulates all of that.
That's incredible. Can you tell us more about like the name of Seek Refuge and the meaning behind it, or like where it came from?
So Seek Refuge, as any Muslim knows, Seek Refuge is straight from the Quran. So at most things that you start, you say, I seek refuge with God from Satan the accursed. And so that kind of inspires that from the Muslim angle, but then also from the idea of having the company and having the brand be a safe haven for expression, somewhere that people can actually go to feel that the clothes they're going to wear and their clothes they're going to buy are going to be good and healthy for them to express themselves through. And then also the word refuge being a direct kind of pointer to one of the main causes, which is refugee aid. I think it's when she told me about the name, I was like, that is brilliant. I don't know how you came up with that.
That's awesome. So you've mentioned that the three mission goals are to aid refugees, to empower women, and to represent Muslims, right? Those are the three overarching principles or premises. For those of us who maybe aren't aware, who are hearing about the company for the first time, how are you guys going about doing those three things? And kind of walk me through that process.
So definitely. So representing Muslims, I can talk about that from a Muslim background myself. The other two are a little harder for me to talk about as I don't come from those backgrounds. But growing up in a very homogenous society in like rural Michigan, I was subjected to bullying every single day because of my color of my skin, my ethnicity, my religion. Kids would call me terrorist all the time. And when I look back at it, I'm not as sad about the bullying as I am about what it distracted me from. So all the time that I was being bullied, I was figuring out how can I make myself seem more American or more white or more Christian. And when all of those things were going on, I could have actually been working on really cool things. I could have been learning about what interests me. But I think that, one thing that Muslims in this country face, and kind of in the West in general, is we don't have that representation to look up to. We don't have those cool, people who are starting brands or people who are involved in music or movies to point to and be like, hey, I'm not weird. Like, there's that person. That person's pretty cool, so I'm pretty cool.
Right.
Right now, I think we're starting to see like the up and up of that. But so definitely representing Muslims, I think, is super important from that perspective. Empowering women is something that my sister is very passionate about as a Muslim woman. And I think that she, growing up, understanding the boxes that people try to put you in. So people try to say, oh, you wear hijab, so you must be like this, or you don't wear hijab, so you must be like this, or you dress a certain way, so you must be like this. Understanding that those boxes are actually more confining and actually more detrimental to women, to Muslim women, than if we let the Muslim woman speak for herself and we actually say, hey, who are you? You know, what are you about? What do you want to represent? And so definitely providing Seek Refuge as, like I said, a safe haven for expression and clothing that does kind of allow itself to be worn by any kind of Muslim woman. I think that that is definitely the avenue through which it empowers women. And then aiding refugees. So my sister and myself are very involved in an organization called Humanity First, which has 2 schools abroad in Jordan that are educating Syrian refugee children who are in refugee camps. And so right now that's kind of the flagship organization that she's working with right now, and she's looking to hopefully work with more in the future. But what she's hoping to do, and it's really interesting because I know a lot of companies that will like have like their nice little number. They're like, we want to donate like X amount of our profits, right? And you're like, that's cool. She's basically saying that, and if you read her Indiegogo site, she says this, that honestly, we want to donate as much as we possibly can. And so right now the number is set at 10%, but she's hoping to exceed that. And I think that what it does beyond even just the aid in terms of money is it's keeping the topic relevant. She's not going to let it die down. She's not going to let it be just a news bite that's on CNN for 5 minutes and then you forget about it. If we look about what's happening in Syria for the past like 3 days, it's just heartbreaking. But if you think about how many people are just seeing that on the timelines and forgetting about it, it really shows you the need for that constant reminder.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Ibrahim, like your role is being the chief design officer, right, at Seek Refuge. Can you talk to us, like apart from the fact that Shazmi's your sister, like how you got involved with it or how she pulled you into it?
Yeah, so
Story behind that.
So I've also had a big interest in fashion growing up. Obviously not as much as my sister, just because, you know, the role that Muslim men have in society also is, you're not really supposed to be that fashionable or whatever it is.
Nah. You gotta have fresh Jordans. You gotta have fresh Jordans, man.
But again, right, that's a specific type of fashion. That's what we see, right?
Yeah.
It's like the type of clothing, the type of like cool things that guys are to wear. But I think today we're starting to see that's getting shattered a bit more. And so as my sister kind of had this interest in business, interest in fashion, and she's trying to understand like what can I do with this. I've been on the side kind of making a lot of calligraphy and stuff like that. And so when she had this idea for Seek Refuge, obviously, you know, being her brother and being right there like alongside her for the ride, we were working together, figuring out what are the designs and what are the feelings we want to capture and how can we capture that through design and how can we capture that through clothing. So I think she did, and like mashallah, an incredible amount of work in perfecting her designs for the actual clothing items. I was kind of providing more like the piecemeal. So like, here's this piece that you can put here. Here's this thing that you can put there. But I think that the way it came together was just incredible.
Yeah, that's like so convenient, the fact that like you can help with the design part and like she can work out with the business stuff. Like that's just like a perfect pair together to have.
I guess more on the I guess minutia or like the specifics of it kind of side. How do you guys go about actually like making your clothes and like what are the processes about, you know, because I know, for example, like if you go to a factory and you say I want to make anything less than like 1,000 articles of clothing, they won't even let you make it because it's not profitable for them, right? So how does that work, and how are those margins, as much as you feel comfortable sharing, how does that whole process work?
Yeah, so definitely the business side of it was fascinating for me to watch, kind of as an observer. The entire time I wished I could help, but I was like, this is not my arena. I don't know what to do. But what the process was for her, as much as I can say, was kind of getting her designs perfected. So understanding like what the fit is, what the fabric is, what the design is, how those things can actually be made, how can they come together, and working with a manufacturer to make samples. And then once we have the samples, then we kind of take pictures of those, shoot the Indiegogo video with those, and use those as kind of showing people this is exactly what you're going to be buying. And so once her Indiegogo campaign is done and she has enough, inshallah, to be able to actually produce, then she's going to be working with an ethical manufacturing company in Turkey to actually make the clothes. And so this company is known for employing refugees. And that's one thing that she's very passionate about also. Even before she had the idea for Seek Refuge, was this idea of corporate social responsibility, or CSR, and understanding what is a company's role in producing something? So like, who are you employing? How much are you paying them? What are their living wages or their wages like? What are their living conditions like? And I think all throughout the news, we hear about really terrible stories where these big companies will literally have suicide nets outside of the hostels for where their laborers are, because they're scared that the people who are working for them don't like their lives so much that they're going to commit suicide. That just shows you that companies
That's
are
insane.
not prioritizing. Yeah, exactly. And I think especially where companies that try to promote a certain like Islamic or Muslim background or theme, I think it's more important for those companies than all of the other companies to be representing that, we have to have ethical manufacturing. We have to be making sure that people who are making our clothes are actually paid a livable wage and are being treated as humans. So I'm kind of forgetting your question. I'm sorry. But, oh, yeah, no, so the process. And so that was the company that she's working through to get manufacturing done. So then hopefully once her Indiegogo campaign is over, inshallah, then she'll be able to make the clothes and then send those out. And then beyond that, I think it's just working with the manufacturer.
That's cool. So in terms of like the style of the clothing and stuff, I was reading, I think it was either one of the articles or like the brand packaging that she sent us, but like she's talking about how like whenever you think of like Muslim woman or Muslim fashion, you instantly think of like long dresses and like flowers and things like that. And Seek Refuge looks nothing like that. So was that sort of like Shadi's style, or was that just like how did the style come about for Seek Refuge?
Definitely. I think that some of the best ideas are born from within. And so it's kind of like what you experience, then you can like understand there's more people like me and there's more things that I can share. And so being a very fashion forward, edgy Muslim millennial woman that Shazia is, she didn't really see clothing that appeals to that. And like you said, a lot of the other companies that do exist are these like floor length dresses that are like very summery and just very like, you're never going to wear it to a construction like yard or something, kind of edgy. And so seeing that as the context and seeing that when you think Muslim women and you think fashion, you immediately think that she wanted to disrupt that. And she wanted to show that, look, there's more types of Muslim women, and this is another type, which is the more fashion forward and edgy Muslim woman.
So, sorry, go on.
No, go on. I was just gonna say, I think it's incredible how like everything in like the company is so like intentional, like from like the style to like the laborers to
that's
like
super
the
dope.
company. Yeah, I think that's incredible.
So one thing is that oftentimes I don't know if you notice this in Michigan, but I guess oftentimes like I live in New York, and I see that a lot of times the Muslim community doesn't support each other, right? Unfortunately. So what is the reception you've gotten from the Muslim community so far? Has it been positive, negative, and whatever? And are you feeling that support and love, or is it kind of like, no, we're gonna keep buying Nike and Adidas, we're not gonna support this? How's that going for you?
I think that the incredible thing is that alhamdulillah, she has received so much support on this brand from Muslim women. And from Muslim men as well. Muslim men are like, hello, can you make something for me too?
Yeah, bro, that stuff is fresh, bro. I'm trying to get my own, you know what I'm saying, denim jacket type situation.
Actually, on the Indiegogo, this is a little plug, on the Indiegogo, for right now, in the opening stages, Muslim men can actually order the denim jacket as well. So she's going to have a male fit.
Damn, I might have to cop, bro.
But yeah, like alhamdulillah, the amount of support that she's been getting is incredible. And I think that one of the reasons, and like you talked about it being intentional, is one of the reasons is because she knows what her market is. She knows what her demographic is. And she's directly talking to them. And she's directly listening to them too. She's saying, what are things that are important to you and how can I incorporate those? And so I think that it really is a good place for people to be supporting each other. But I do think that in the future, you can never count out the haters. They're always going to exist. And I've talked to her about that. And I think that one thing that she keeps in mind is just that, she's confident that what she's doing is for good. And she's confident that it's going to be helping the people that she is hoping to help. And so if she has criticism from within those groups, then she's going to take it and actually work on it. But if it's kind of just from outside and people are just, making noise, then, you got to shrug off the haters and keep doing what you're doing.
So what's your, I know like you've been working with, obviously you've been living with Shazia your whole life, but like working with her is probably a different experience. So like if you want to share, like could you like explain like what that relationship is like and if it's grown a lot since you guys have been working probably more closely with the business?
Yeah. So I actually told Shazia this the other day, that she is someone who does everything right. in my mind. Like every step of the way that like there's a binary decision, she picks the correct one, and it amazes me because she's always done it like from childhood. But watching her do it in a business sense is just incredible because, mashallah, it's not like chance that she's on Vogue. It's not like a chance that she's over like 65%, alhamdulillah. Actually, last time I checked, 65% of her Indiegogo goal within 6 days. Like, those things aren't chances. It's because she knows exactly the steps she should be taking, and she's doing them. And the reason that she knows those things is because she does an insane amount of research, and she actually is studying this industry. She's studying what have people done in the past, what are the mistakes they've made, what are the successful things they've done, who should I be in contact to, what are the things that I should be doing. And watching that is just incredibly inspiring because I come from a very entrepreneurial family. We have another sister who is starting a company called IB Admissions, which is a college consulting company for students that are applying to college. So kind of helping them understand like what their narrative is and stuff. And my dad is very entrepreneurial. My mom has a jewelry business. And I myself have like a couple things I want to get into.
Damn, bro.
That's amazing.
Talk about it, bro. Talk about it.
Amazing.
Talk about it, bro.
Yeah.
But just watching, I mean, like I have like a calligraphy business and a photography business, but watching how she has done this in comparison to like what I've been doing on the side is just incredible because I'm like, wow, I need to step my game up. Like she understands really what the framework she's working within is, where she can go and where she can't go, and the places that she can go, she goes and she does it. And she has incredible stories about how every step of the way, prayer has been what is kind of her foundation and what alleviates a lot of the different things. So she might get annoyed if I share the story, but I'm going to share it anyways. The day of our launch at University of Michigan, she has her denim jacket, her t-shirts, and then her hoodie. And the hoodie was supposed to be coming shipment because she had someone else that was working with it, taking pictures and stuff, that was shipping it to us. And they picked the wrong shipping time. And so we were like not going to get it in time for this event. And so we were like in the car, we were praying that like, okay, inshallah, like we'll be able to get it. And we call my apartment. My apartment's like, oh, actually the mail person's right here right now. So I can check with them if it's here, because it was just a crazy thing. We go and then they didn't have it. And we're like, oh my God. But then still both of us are saying like, okay, inshallah, like everything will be fine. Like no worries, it's all up to God. And then we're leaving my apartment, and literally the minute that we're leaving, there's a package outside of my door, and it's
my God.
And it was just incredible because like moments before that, she was telling me that like every step of the way she's been praying, and her prayers are the things that have been actually like helping her see what the right path is. And also like our family, our community, our friends. I think everyone's showing their support, and I think the greatest support people can give is through prayer.
So, your sister and your family, obviously, everyone's amazing people. But you mentioned that you have your own photography and calligraphy business, and I think it would be a disservice to have you here and not talk about that. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? And
yeah, go for it.
And definitely in the description down below, we're gonna have his company information on there too if you're trying to cop and support his merch as well.
Yeah, that'd be dope. So I've always been interested in art. When I was a kid, it was a lot of drawing, a lot of painting. And then my sisters actually got me a camera, I think in 10th grade for like my birthday. And that kind of changed everything because I started taking pictures. And I think photography is this really beautiful art form where you're seeing things that you appreciate and you're able to literally show other people that. It's like you're giving people your own eyes for like a split second. I think it's really cool. And I like to think that, especially with nature photography, that, it's really a tribute to Allah because it's really showing what his perfection is in every single creation. And so that was my like main kind of motivation through most of like my photographic career was nature photography. Lately, I've been getting a lot more into fashion photography, and you can actually see that as a development alongside with like my sister's kind of honing of her fashion skills. And so a lot of the Seek Refuge fashion photography I've been lucky enough to do. She's also done like most of it, and it's really dope. And it kind of is. I'm kind of just like, man, I should have done that. But she's kind of surpassing me in that. But I started doing a lot of fashion photography too with my friends, people like in my school community. So that's kind of one aspect. I do it for a business too, but it's really boring actually as a business. Like portraits are kind of they're kind of sad. They kind of like suck the soul out of you if I'm going to be honest. But calligraphy actually is kind of my other area that I've been working on. And so I've always really been interested in handwriting. When I was like in elementary school, middle school, I would always like trace over my words that I wrote to make sure that I could like exactly mimic them with my like muscle memory of my hand. And so when I started learning how to actually do Arabic calligraphy and what the rules are, and what the different styles are in scripts, that kind of it allowed for a different type of expression. So I kind of think that photography is you have something and you're documenting it, and calligraphy is you have nothing and you're creating it. And so through calligraphy, I've started doing different graphic design projects. So definitely like the jacket, like all the calligraphy that's on the back. It's a poem by a Syrian refugee. So I kind of wrote all of that on my iPad. Yeah.
On an iPad?
What? No way.
Yeah, the iPad Pro and Adobe Draw is a great tool, and the Apple Pencil. And then also I've been doing kind of large scale commissions for people's houses for artwork. So like one of my favorite pieces that a lot of my family members ordered is this huge piece that says Allah, and then in it is his 99 names in like Kufic calligraphy. So it's like really linear. So it's a really fun. It takes up a lot of time. At school, it's really hard for me to actually like spend time on. The most I can kind of do is if I'm studying and I have chalk and a chalkboard, then I'll like do calligraphy on the chalkboard. And I'm like, dude, come on, we gotta keep studying. But that's what I'm graduating this year, inshallah, and so I can't wait to go home and actually put more time into calligraphy.
So you said you're graduating this year, right? Inshallah. So what are your plans for post graduation, or where do you see yourself?
Inshallah.
Just personally.
Yeah, so I've been kind of like going back and forth on it a lot. It's kind of like a weekly change. I've stopped telling my friends like, oh, this is my plan, just because I know it's gonna change. But what my plan is right now is my long-term plan. I'll tell you that is to work for USAID, which is the U.S. Agency for International Development, more under budget and contracting side. So understanding and deciding who can get contracts, which agencies are gonna do ethical development abroad. And which agencies are using data and research to make sure that they're doing the right kind of projects. Because as we all know, like when people go abroad and they're just like, hey, I want to build a well here. And it's like, well, is that the best place for a well? Can someone work on the well if it breaks? All these questions. So that's the direction I'm trying to go into, inshallah. Law school is a part of that. So inshallah, 3 years of law school somewhere. Are you a lawyer?
I'm going to law school next year, inshallah. That's my plan. Yeah.
Inshallah, that's amazing. Good, like, congrats. That's definitely a hard decision to make. Stick with it. So then before law school, I'm still trying to figure that out. Right now, my eyes are set on a startup nonprofit in DC that's going to be working to counter hate in our society. So I can definitely let you guys know about that, or you all know about that when there's more details around that, because I think that'd be kind of a cool topic to discuss as well. But so plans are kind of up in the air, but inshallah everything will work out.
That's dope, bro. Well, listen, I'm having a lot of fun talking. I think Shiv would agree with having a lot of fun talking to you. I want to be respectful of your time, so I got one last question for you, if you wouldn't mind. And then whatever you want to share with us or any questions for us, definitely feel free to ask. But there's a lot of people out there who want to be a fashion designer or want to be a photographer, calligrapher, musician, whatever the case may be, right? What advice would you give to those people who want to do that stuff based on familial norms or stereotypes of people of different races or religions, are scared to do that or take that first step? How did you guys go about doing that, and what advice would you give them?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really important question. I remember the day that my sister moved home from business school after she graduated, and she bought like how to draw model or how to draw like fashion design like guides and like the right books and the pencils. And my family was kind of like, hello, go get a job. What are you doing? And from the baseline, I think that everyone is going to experience this, no matter what it is that you're trying to start out doing, is that people are going to look at it and be like, hello, you're not the right person for that, or you're not qualified yet. Go do something else. That's why I'm a big fan of the model, which is of like kind of do things low key on the side. And then when you get good enough, show people that, hey, look, this is what I've been doing when you were like, asleep or tweeting or whatever.
Yeah.
And so myself, I used to come home from school every single day, put my backpack down in the family room, grab my camera, and go back outside and take pictures. Because we lived in like kind of a scenic area in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. And my mom used to tell me like, hello, come do your homework. What are you doing? Why are you outside taking pictures? Come on. And so that was kind of like, that's obviously not the same as kind of a few more different I think there's different types of expressions that our communities, our societies will allow. So like Islamic calligraphy, like people are always going to be supportive of that because you're writing God's name times and it's integral to our culture. Any masjid you go to, any religious book that you open is going to have some form of calligraphy. And so that was, a little shocking because when I would draw and paint and stuff, people would kind of look at it like, what are you doing? But with calligraphy, people are very, very supportive
Mashallah,
of that.
beta, mashallah, right? Like,
Exactly. They're like, hey, I want that for my house. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Pay me though.
Yeah, exactly. And so one thing that I saw for Shazia, and it makes me very proud, and my parents are really proud of her, is that she's not just making fashion, right? And it's not like I'm just making art. It's like the thing that you work on should be something that's actually benefiting the places that you come from, and it should be something that's informed by your experience and is informing people who are having the same experience. And so, like Shazia, for example, working on clothing for Muslim women, I remember one day like she was telling her best friend's mom about this, and her best friend's mom, instead of being like, "Oh, beta, don't go into fashion. That's a very like booty like industry or something."
Yeah.
He was like, "Wow, tell me when I can buy these clothes because I face as a Muslim mom is I have to go to Forever 21 and buy this long dress shirt that looks like it's a kurta because it's like hard to
Literally.
like yeah, exactly, right? And so I think that the formula you have to find is how can you fit what your experiences are and what role you want to play in our greater society into the form of expression you want to put forth, and then work on it on the side, work on it like low key for a bit, and then when you get like good enough, no one is supportive of things at the get go. Everyone's like, don't do that, do something else. But once you have data to show and like kind of experience, be like, hey, I'm actually good at this. So Shazia, for example, worked at a fashion e-commerce company for I think 1.5 years, 2 years, before she actually quit her job to do this. And so what that showed everyone was like, whoa, this girl actually has really good experience in marketing, really good experience in like brand development and company business. And so when she quit her job, everyone was like, she's not playing around. Like she's actually trying to start. And so then I think that's how you can actually get support on the different things you want to work on.
I think that's really good advice. Oh yeah, one thing I did want to ask about like the Vogue thing before was just like how in the world did that even like happen? Like to get that feature in Vogue, that's literally incredible. Mashallah.
It honestly is incredible, and I wish I understood kind of the background, how everything went down. I think that it's one of the things that so I did like a press internship for a senator this past summer, and one thing that I learned about the press is that the press wants you to talk to them. Like they need to know where the stories are because that's their entire job is to put out content. And so Shazia really just reached out to people, and like I think that there's the part that she did, which is reaching out, and there's the part that Allah did, which was have a solid enough company and a solid enough story that like you hear it and you're like, I want to learn about that and I want to talk about that. And so the right person emailed the right person, and bada bing, bada boom, like it all went down. So I think though that the lesson that to be learned from that is kind of just that like you should understand what your role is. So your role is never, I think Islam kind of teaches this, is your role is never like someone that's asking the world for something. Your role is giving the world something. And I think when you look at anything that you do from that perspective, it'll actually help you have a really confident model of whatever it is you're putting out there, and it'll help people get more attracted to it, and they want to learn more, and they want to like spread the news.
Snaps for that.
The thing is, I remember when I first heard of Seek Refuge, it was I think the Seek Refuge account followed me on Instagram. So this is like maybe like end of December or something like that, right? And I remember texting Shifa, and I was like, "Yo, Shifa, this is dope. I don't know what this is, but this is like a really dope thing." And like we were about to start the podcast. We started it the first week of January, and we're like, we gotta get these people on. So it's pretty cool to see everything go full circle and kind of.
That's amazing. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, that's like really cool. I mean, both of you kind of are doing the same model, right? Which is like you're doing this, and it doesn't matter. I think when people look at it and they're like, oh, I don't have 50,000 followers, how am I going to do something? It's like, you got to put something first, right? So I think that's really cool. And we're happy, Shazia is really, really happy to be a part of kind of your all's project from the get-go. It's really cool.
We're really happy to have, her be a supporter, but also, you're, in your own right, a very, remarkable young man, and inshallah will do amazing things. Do you have anything for us? Any questions for us? Any comments for us before we end, or?
Nothing right now. I think just the only thing to keep in mind is that we got to continue to support people that are doing these kinds of things. So sharing like Shazia's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, definitely the Indiegogo page, and driving traffic to that so that like she can finish the campaign soon and then start making the clothes.
Get started.
Our denim jackets.
So 100%, we're going to have, if you guys look in the description below, we're going to have all the company information, all the social media sites, for both Seek Refuge and Ibrahim for your companies as well. Please, shoot me that information. We'll have that included as well. And the biggest thing I think that the reason why me and Shifa and I started this was we want to support our own people. You know what I mean? And like, if we don't support ourselves, who's going to support us? So, you guys can spend $150 buying Jordans anyway. Why not support, a young Muslim sister on the come up right now, you know what I mean? And going through good stuff. So, listen, Ibrahim, it's really nice having you on. May Allah keep rewarding you and your family. Certainly you guys are doing amazing stuff. And, we'd love to, hear more about your progress and follow your journey on social media and otherwise.
Inshallah, definitely. Very nice talking to both of you.
100%.
Yeah, you too. It's great meeting you.
Assalamu alaikum.